Hajimemashite, Michelle desu. Dozo yoroshiku. No, that was not English. I've just introduced myself to you in Japanese. Loosely translated, it means, how do you do? I'm Michelle. It's nice to meet you. I'm not from Japan, but I have been learning from a teacher, or sensei. Her name is Takako Shigesa Sensei. She's Japanese, and she teaches a Japanese course at Nova. Why learn Japanese? Well, if you've ever eaten sushi, made origami, watched anime, played video games, and you've been participating in a part of Japanese culture. First I'm going to talk a little bit about the language in general, and then I'm going to move on to the writing systems, and then I'm going to then move on to a little bit about the spoken language. Politeness is a very important aspect of Japanese. So if you're talking to someone who is at a higher social status than you are, or who is older than you are, or is your teacher, then you want to change your speech to reflect that. So for example, if you're talking to your friend, you might say arigato, which means thank you. But if you're talking to your teacher, you would change it to say arigato gozaimasu. And it means the same thing, and gozaimasu is just added to indicate politeness. It's important to note that the Japanese language does not have alphabets. Instead, there are individual kana used to represent sounds. Let me talk a little bit about the writing system to help you better understand Japanese. Japanese has its own writing systems called hiragana, katakana, and kanji. You need to know all three to be able to read and write Japanese because written Japanese is a mix of all three of these. So the first one is hiragana, and you'll probably start out learning Japanese with that because it acquaints you with all of the different sounds. Hiragana is used for particles and content, and you can use it to read Japanese before you learn kanji. So this is hiragana. This is some of the things that it looks like. And without going through all 107 of these, this is a, I, u, e, and o. And basically these 3 or 5 sounds are used to make different sounds. For example, ka, ki, ku, ke, and ko. Katakana is the next one, and it is different symbols, but they're all the same sounds. And katakana is used for foreign loan words, onomatopoeias, and scientific terms. The last one is kanji, and kanji is, there are so many kanji. It's one of the reasons that it's so difficult to learn to read and write it. You need to know at least 2,000 to be even considered literate in Japanese. And kanji is used for context to convey meaning, and they can be as simple as just this one, which means person, or they can be as complex as this one, which means day of the week. Okay, but the spoken language will probably be a little bit less overwhelming, because you've been introduced to all the different sounds. To speak Japanese, you need to understand Japanese grammar. Japanese grammar is a lot like how Yoda from Star Wars speaks, actually. The noun in the sentence comes first, and then the verb comes after that. To say it is a cat in Japanese, you would say it like Yoda would, and he would say, cat it is. Cat in Japanese is neko, and des means it is. So to say it is a cat in Japanese, you would say neko desu. When you're addressing someone in Japanese, you want to address them by their last name and then add a title on the end of it. Often this title is san, which is the equivalent of Mr., Mrs., Miss, or Ms. So if you're talking to Mr. Matsuda, you would want to say Matsuda-san. But you can't use san about yourself, and if you're talking to a teacher, you would want to add sensei after it because it's more respectful. So, for example, Shigesa Sensei. Now that I've introduced you to some basic Japanese, I hope you got something out of it, and it's really interesting and unique. It's a unique language. It's very complicated, but I think you can learn it with a lot of practice and determination. There are 3 writing systems with a very different spoken language than English, and influences can be seen everywhere. So if you're interested, I recommend taking Japanese 101 with Shigeshi Sensei. And goodbye, everyone. Or in Japanese, minasan, shitsurei shimasu. Oh, this is my audience.
Hi, I'm Jenny.
Hi, I'm Rachel. Hello, I'm Emma. Hello, I'm Emma.